Imagine solving a jigsaw puzzle. When doing so, you're scrutinizing the outcome of the puzzle. The puzzle represents your research. However, you can solve your puzzle by just randomly putting the pieces all together. Hence, you will look at the right piece to be put in a specific spot, corners up until the final piece. The puzzle pieces represent review of related literature. Hi, I'm Ria, and this is Review of Related Literature. When doing your research, it is important to know its reliability. A research reliability depends mainly on theories, legal bases, and other forms of academic literature or research. By doing so, you create a series of related literature that serves as the backbone of your research, creating a reliable paper. A review of related literature, more commonly known as RRL, is a detailed review of existing literature related to the topic of a thesis or dissertation. In an RRL, you talk about knowledge, findings from existing literature relevant to your topic. If you find gaps or conflicts in existing literature, you can also discuss this in your review. And if applicable, how you plan to address these gaps or resolve these conflicts during your study. The major purpose of reviewing the literature is to determine what has already been done that relates to your topic. This knowledge not only prevents you from unintentionally duplicating another person's research, it also gives you the understanding and insight you need to place your topic within a logical frame. It shows the originality and relevance of your research problem. Lastly, your research is different from other statisticians. It justifies your proposed methodology. Purposes of RRL and what the instances are examples. Number 1. To find out the connection of research to the current conditions and situation to the world. As researchers, we should be prompt to know what the current happening in the world is, and to determine the aspects that we should focus on depending on the needs of the current situation. There is a specific design to know and how can we obtain information to the current events in the world. Number 2, to know more about theory and concepts underlying your research and to learn from them with respect to your own research study. Theories and other concepts from credible sources serves as one of the supporting pillars. Number 3, to discover the relation of your research with previous research studies. Researchers should validate the results of the previous studies or see if the results are still relevant today. Number 4, to obtain information on the accuracy or relevance of your research questions. It influences the direction of your research, making your research questions more reliable in finding out the truth. Number 5, to familiarize yourself with technical terms related to your research. It gives you an opportunity to explore more about your study, allowing you to acquire the proper technical terms to use. Review on related literature varies from the type of research. Although both sources are necessary for a comprehensive understanding of the theoretical framework itself, the approach should be compatible with academic literature selection. Fundamentally, quantitative resources use numerical data to identify causes or provide explanations, whereas qualitative resources use descriptive research to develop a knowledge of events. While review of related literature often discuss the topics in a broad manner, there are also reviews that require a more rigorous process in summarizing evidences. It is called the systematic review. According to Turney, in 2022, A systematic review is a form of review that finds, selects, and synthesizes all relevant evidences using refutable processes. It provides an explicit response to a well-stated research topic and details the approaches taken to reach the conclusion. In conducting a systematic review, there are steps that we need to consider. If you look on the internet, you would see various steps on how to properly conduct a systematic review. However, despite its differences, they all are focused into one thing: crafting a detailed and reliable systematic review. Step 1. Formulating review-related questions. Before starting the review, the issues that need to be addressed should be outlined in the form of concise, precise, and organized questions. Modifications to the protocol should only be permitted once the review questions have been established. If it becomes clear that there are better ways to define the populations, interventions, outcomes, or study designs. Step 2. Finding relevant work. There should be a thorough search for studies. Without regard to language, a variety of written and digital resources should be searched. The review question should be the direct antecedents of the research selection criteria, which should be predetermined. It's important to document the reasons for inclusion and exclusion. Step 3. Evaluating the quality of the studies. Every stage of the review process requires consideration of the study quality. The least level of design that is acceptable should be described in the study selection criteria and questions formulation. Selected research should go through a more thorough quality assessment using design-based quality checks and general critical appraisal guides. These thorough quality evaluations will be used to examine heterogeneity and guide judgments about whether meta-analysis is appropriate. They also assess in determining the reliability of findings and formulating suggestions for further study. Step 4. Summarizing the data. Data synthesis involves tabulating research characteristics, standards, and outcomes in addition to using statistical techniques to compare studies and combine their outcomes. The investigation of heterogeneity and its causes have to be prepared beforehand. Subgroup meta-analysis may be possible in the absence of an overall meta-analysis. Step 5. Analyzing the results. Each of the 4 aforementioned steps should address the problems outlined above. You should investigate the possibility of publication bias and associated biases. If the general summary cannot be believed, heterogeneity should be investigated, and if so, the results from high-quality research should be used to draw conclusions. Any advice should be evaluated in light of the strengths and shortcomings of the available data. Systematic review in a nutshell. Responses research questions by collecting and summarizing all data and evidence that fitted in a specific topic or paper. By doing so, it creates a little to no bias answer of the questions. Another subset of systematic review provides the same rigorous approach, yet focus more on statistics. It is called the meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is a kind of review of related literature in which you examine and combine the results of 2 or more statistical studies for coming out with a grand total to indicate stronger effects of the research outcome. Putting the results together and making them appear as one result work to strengthen whatever impact the independent variable has on the dependent variable. Quantitative meta-analysis allows synthesis of results from primary studies investigating relations among common variables. The procedure entails first capturing effect sizes that numerically describe the relationship among relevant variables in each primary study. Just like the jigsaw puzzle, crafting a relevant review of related literature should follow an appropriate steps, regardless of the type or kind. By doing so, you can create a reliable, non-biased form of literature.